review for the Ladykillers, 2004, directed by the Coen brothers, is a remake of a 1955 movie, British movie. So this is a movie that I've heard is not very good and is kind of mediocre Coen brothers outing. And after watching it, I'd have to actually agree with that. It's just not that great, really. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I wouldn't say it's a terrible movie, worst movie ever seen. It just seems to me to be missing some of the charm of the Coen brothers comedies. Like, obviously Big Lebowski is amazing, but Hail Caesar, it just seems much more polished. The jokes work better. Burn After Reading, from what I remember, I watched it a while ago, but I remember it just being much funnier. The jokes landed more. Like this movie, some of the people work really well. Like I think Tom Hanks overall works pretty well. Irma P. Hall, she does a pretty good job as the old lady. So the setup is that she has the house that's near a casino that's floating on the water. It's in Mississippi. It's on the water, but they house the money in this old vault bank that's on the land, and they can tunnel their way from her basement to the bank. It's pretty close by, and the walls are very old. They're just brick, and they can break their way through, and they're also weakened by you get the feeling like maybe the walls are over 100 years old, and it's near the water, so that's kind of weakened the walls. And also all the dirt in between up into her basement has been weakened too by the salt water, so it's easy to tunnel. So she has a room for him to rent. Tom Hanks, who plays this over the top Southern, he says he's a professor of classics, but he's actually just a criminal that has a very large vocabulary, and it is fun to watch. I'd say he's the best part of this movie, for me personally. I mean, some people complain he's over the top. Yeah, he is. Kind of is almost like a cartoon. See, that's the thing in this movie, is like a lot of these characters, they kind of just become cartoons to me. And I think in a lot of the other comedies from the Coen brothers, they kind of straddle the line, but they usually fall on the side where they're not cartoons. Like Raising Arizona too, like Nicolas Cage's character is over the top and crazy, but at the end of the day, you kind of buy it, and he's not a cartoon. Like I'm kind of thinking of like that bounty hunter character in that movie. Like he kind of straddles the line and is almost a cartoon, but you buy it. I don't know. I've never seen the original of the Ladykillers, but from what I've heard, I watched Ebert and Ropert's 3-minute review, and they both gave it a thumbs down. Ebert gave it two and a half out of 4 stars, which I guess is low for him, but it means it's not a 1-star movie, but just a number of things in the movie. You just there's like it's just too much. Like Roper or Ebert mentioned that there's this gag with her cat. It keeps running out of the house. Tom Hanks, right away in the beginning, he has to climb a tree to go get it. and then it runs out of the house again, and they have to go get it. Then it runs out of the house again, and they just keep doing this over and over. And it's kind of like, we get it. Like, the first time was not even that funny, but you just keep hammering it home. And I expect a little bit more from the Coen brothers. I don't know. Maybe that gag is in the original, but um, from what Ebert was saying, the original is a little more down to earth. Um, so yeah, there's some other things too that I'll get into. Just it just feels off. The movie just feels a little off to me. Like, even the cinematography, and I think it's Roger Deakins, and he shot Hail Caesar, and that's a gorgeous looking movie. I mean, there are some beautiful shots in this movie. It's in the South. It's supposed to be in Mississippi, but I don't know. The movie, it just feels like it's just off. Like, it doesn't really feel like a Coen Brothers movie to me, which is kind of weird. But so that's kind of what I think of the movie. I mean, I don't think it's terrible. It's not absolutely atrocious, but um yeah, it's definitely one of their weaker movies that I've seen. But so, like, I'll get into spoilers now. So, spoilers, like, the character J.K. Simmons's character, great actor, but a lot of his stuff I think is a little off too. He has this big handlebar mustache. He works in the movie business. Like, he does props and, like, explosions and demolitions and stuff like that. Like, right away, there's this scene where there's this dog and he's trying to go get the food, but he's like dodging explosions. And then this thing keeps falling off the dog. So he's like, hey, let's use this gag with the dog with a gas mask on, like a World War I gas mask. And the director's like, no, I don't want to do that. But then, like, the dog can't breathe and the dog just keels over. And I mean, I guess you assume it dies. And it's just kind of like, you start this character off and he, like, kills a dog. Like, it's supposed to be funny. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. And then throughout the movie, he has this IBS problem, irritable bowel syndrome problem, but it's really just played up for laughs. And it's almost like just like I mean, it they don't actually show anything, but it's almost like, like just lowbrow, like poop jokes. And I don't know, it just doesn't really work. Like, maybe once it's kind of funny, but stuff like that. And then there's another character, what's his name? I don't know. He plays like basically he's like the heavy. Like, um he's a football player, and even though they introduced that character, it didn't really work for me, like how they shot it. But he's just kind of this dumb thug guy, and I don't know, all of his jokes just didn't work. I mean, it's like he's just like a cartoon, like he's out of like an old cartoon, and just not really working. Marlon Wayans has some funny stuff with the old lady, but he's like just cussing up a storm in the movie. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I think of the movie. I did enjoy Tom Hanks in it, and the old lady has some good stuff too. Um, he's definitely kind of fun to watch, but I think he kind of just becomes a over the top cartoon in the end. So like Ebert in his review says, Hanks plays the professor. He claims to be a professor of Latin and Greek who dresses like Colonel Sanders. Yeah, which is made, I think, the most famous thing about this movie is like, oh, isn't that the role where Tom Hanks played Colonel Sanders? He is kind of like he is kind of dressed like and looks kind of like Colonel Sanders a little bit, who seems to be channeling Tennessee Williams, Edgar Allan Poe, and Vincent Price. As in the original, he rents a room from a sweet old lady. He plans to use her room as a base for criminal scheme. In this case, he and four associates will tunnel from the root cellar into the cash room of a nearby casino named the Bandit Queen. The professor explains to the LOL, I don't know, I guess the audience, that the five of them are a classical music ensemble who need a quiet place to practice. They play music on a boombox to cover the sounds of their tunneling. The other critics represent the extremes of available casting choices. All of them, like the professor, are over the top in a way rarely seen outside of Looney Tunes. Yeah, exactly. I don't. It's just like it's like the movie wants you to kind of take it. I mean, a little seriously, but you just don't buy it. Marlon Wayans is a trash talking hip hop janitor at the casino. Gareth Pancake, J.K. Simmons, is a mustachioed explosive expert who asphyxiates a dog in an unfortunate gas mask experiment. The General, Zai Ma, is a chain smoker who once apparently specialized in tunnels for the Viet Cong. In Lump, Ryan Hurst is a dim-witted muscle man who will do the hard labor. The little old lady is named Marva Munson. She was played by Irma P. Hall. In the one completely successful comic performance in the movie, yes, she's a caricature to a church-going widow who doesn't allow smoking in the house. That part is funny though. I think she doesn't allow smoking in the house, and when she finally goes down there and she sees Zai Ma smoking, I don't know. I thought that was funny, and also Zai Ma, he like puts the cigarette back into his mouth, and I was like, how do they do that? Like, is he actually putting a lit cigarette back into his mouth? Like, I was like, it looked good. I don't know. Maybe with some CGI, but I was kind of impressed by that. So, some of the jokes do work, but has regular conversation with the portrait of her dead husband and is not shy about complaining to the sheriff, but her character is exaggerated from a recognizable human base, while the others are comic strip oddities. Even Marva is sometimes betrayed by the Coens, who give her speeches that betray themselves as too clever by half protesting a neighbor's loud hippity-hop music. She complains that the songs... So, yeah, she complains about, like, modern hip-hop music, and, she doesn't like it, of course. And she also goes to the sheriff, complains about it to him. There are too many moments where dialogue seems so unmatched to the characters that they seem to be victims of a driven by ventriloquist. Now, let me say that although the movie never gels, its oddness keeps it from being boring. Yeah, Tom Hanks provides such an eccentric performance that it's fun just to watch him behaving, to listen to the speeches that coil through endless florid ornamentation. That the purpose of a criminal in such a situation would be to become invisible as Guinness, Alec Guinness, who's in the 1955 original. Despite his bad teeth, tied to do the 1955 film, escapes the Coens. But I am importing unwanted logic into a narrative that manifestly is disinterested in such fineries of specification as the professor might declare. There are some big laughs in the movie, some of them involving body disposal, and another one of Garth Pancake demonstrates the safe handling of explosives. When Mrs. Munson invites the church ladies over for tea and invites the nice gentleman in the basement to play something, Haig offers a poem by Poe as a consolation prize and rises to a peak of mannered sublimity as the church ladies gaze in the speechless astonishment at his performance. I was reminded of a day in the 1960s. I was in a working class pub in a poor neighborhood of Sligo in the west of Ireland. The TV set over the bar was turned to The Galloping Gourmet. The regulars started at him speechlessly until finally one said, "Will you look at that fellow? That's how the ladies feel about Professor G.H. Dorr." There's a lot of high-spirited gospel music. It's wonderful music, but not really connected to the movie, unlike the music in the Coen "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Yeah, I don't know. I watched that a long time ago, but I think I enjoyed that more. That's a movie where the Coens, I think it works. This is not really working sometimes, I'd say. And then yeah, and then you have Marlon Wayans, and he's funny too, and in the movie sometimes, but his like he says, his potty mouth also wins the film an otherwise completely unnecessary R rating. That's true. He's like, it could have been PG-13. Yeah. What the movie finally lacks, I think, is modesty. The original Ladykillers was one of a group of small inspired comedies made at the low rent Ealing Studios near London, where Guinness was the resident genius. His other titles from the period included Kind Hearts and Coronets. These were self-affecting films. Much of their humor grew out of the contrast between nefarious schemes and low-key, almost apologetic behavior. The Coens' Ladykillers, on the other hand, is always widely signaling for us to notice it. Not content to be funny, it wants to be funny. Yeah, it's trying too hard, I'd say. Have you ever noticed that that the more a comedian wears funny hats, the less funny he is? The old and new Ladykillers play like a contest between Buster Keaton and Soupy Sales. So, yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with most of that, but um, I don't know if you haven't seen it, maybe check it out. Just if you're a fan of the Coen brothers, a few of the performances are worth a watch. I'd say, especially Tom Hanks and Irma P. Hall. I'd say at least theirs are worth a watch. But yeah, that's about it though. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think. Like, comment below, and see you next time.